my husband told me he was working late every night. I made his dinner and waited. My name is Clara. I am 32 years old. My husband's name is Mark. We have been married for 5 years. We live in a small, quiet house with a little garden. Our life was simple. It was happy, or I thought it was happy. Mark worked in an office in the city. He was a good man. He was kind. He always remembered to buy me flowers on my birthday. He always told me I was beautiful. In the evenings, we used to sit together. We watched movies. We talked about our day. Our life was a comfortable blanket. It was warm and safe. I loved our life. I loved my husband. Then, about 6 months ago, things started to change. It was slow at first. I almost did not notice. Mark started working late. He would call me around 6 o'clock. He would say, "Clara, I'm so sorry. I have to stay late at the office. We have a big project." I would say, "Okay, darling. Don't work too hard." The first time, I believed him. The second time, I believed him. The third time, a small question started in my mind, but I pushed it away. He was a good husband. He worked hard for us. I should be a good wife. I should be supportive. So every night, I made his dinner. I would cook his favorite things: roast chicken or spaghetti with meatballs. I would set the table for 2. I would wait. The food would get cold. The house would be quiet. The only sound was the clock on the wall. Tick, tock, tick, tock. It felt so loud in the empty house. He would come home around 10 or 11 o'clock. He always looked tired. He would kiss my cheek and say, "I'm sorry you waited." I would warm up his dinner. He would eat quickly, without saying much. He seemed distant. His eyes were somewhere else. I would ask, "How was work?" He would say, "Busy, stressful." He did not give me details anymore. Before, he used to tell me funny stories about his coworkers. He used to complain about his boss. Now, there was only silence. After he ate, he would go straight to the shower. Then he would get into bed and turn his back to me. He would fall asleep in minutes. I would lie awake for hours. I would look at his back. He was right next to me, but he felt a million miles away. I was lonely. I felt a cold space growing between us. I told myself it was just the stress from his job, the big project. It would end soon. Things would go back to normal. I wanted to believe that. I needed to believe that. One Tuesday, I was doing the laundry. I was getting Mark's clothes ready for the dry cleaner. I picked up his work coat. It felt heavier than usual. I checked the pockets. Sometimes he left his keys or some coins inside. I found a small, folded piece of paper. It was a receipt. My heart started to beat a little faster. I opened it. My hands were shaking a little. I read the words. It was not for an office. It was not for office supplies. It was for a hotel. The Grand Hotel downtown. It was a nice hotel, an expensive hotel. I looked at the date. It was from last Thursday. Last Thursday, he told me he was working late. He said he was in a meeting until midnight. A meeting in a hotel. Maybe his company had a conference there. I tried to find a reason. I tried to make it okay. But then I saw the details on the receipt. It was for one room, and it was for room service for two. 2 dinners, 2 glasses of wine. My breath caught in my throat. My mind went blank. 2 people. Who was the second person? I sat down on the floor of our bedroom. The coat was still in my lap. The receipt was in my hand. It felt like a piece of burning coal. I read it again and again. Room service for 2. It was not a business meeting. It was a dinner. A private dinner in a hotel room. My whole body felt cold. I thought about last Thursday. I remembered making him his favorite lasagna. I remembered waiting for him. I remembered him coming home, looking tired. He had lied. He had lied to my face. I didn't know what to do. Should I ask him? Should I confront him? My heart was pounding in my chest. I felt sick. I felt like a fool. I had been waiting at home, a good wife, while he was in a hotel with someone else. Who was she? The questions screamed in my head. Was she beautiful? Was she younger than me? Did he love her? I put the receipt back in his coat pocket. I did not want him to know that I knew. Not yet. I needed to think. I needed to be sure. Maybe there was a mistake. Maybe I was wrong. I hoped I was wrong. I prayed I was wrong. That night when he came home, I tried to act normal. I smiled. I asked about his day. He gave the same answer. Busy, stressful. I looked at his face. Was he hiding something behind his tired eyes? Was he a stranger? I could not sleep that night. I waited until he was breathing deeply. Then I carefully took his phone from the nightstand. My hands were trembling. I had never looked through his phone before. I always trusted him. But trust was a broken window now. His phone needed a password. I tried his birthday. It did not work. I tried my birthday. It did not work. I tried the date of our wedding. It opened. A part of me was sad. He still used our special day. I opened his messages. I scrolled down. My heart felt like it was going to stop. There was a name I did not know. Sarah. There were so many messages between them. Every day. All day. I read the messages. They were not about work. They were full of little hearts and smiling faces. I miss you, he wrote to her. I can't wait to see you tonight, she wrote back. Last Thursday was amazing. Another message from him said, last Thursday, the night of the hotel, it was real, all of it. I felt like I could not breathe. The words on the screen blurred. My eyes filled with tears. I read more. They talked about their future. They made plans. He told her he loved her. He wrote the same words to her that he used to write to me. I felt a pain in my chest. It was so sharp, so deep. It was the pain of betrayal. The man I loved, the man I built a life with, was living another life. A secret life. And I was not a part of it. I put the phone back on the nightstand. I went to the living room. I sat on the sofa in the dark. The tears came silently. I cried for the life I thought I had. I cried for the man I thought I knew. I cried because I was so lost. What do you do when your world falls apart? What do you do when the person you trust most is the one who hurts you most? I felt so alone. Maybe you have felt this way too. It is a terrible feeling. It feels like you are drowning. The next morning, I did not make him breakfast. I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee. I waited for him to come downstairs. When he saw my face, he knew something was wrong. My eyes were red and swollen from crying. "Clara, what's wrong? Are you okay?" he asked. His voice was full of concern. It made me angry. How could he pretend to care? I did not say anything. I just looked at him. I slid the hotel receipt across the table. He looked at it. His face went pale. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. "Room service for 2, Mark," I said. My voice was quiet, but it was strong. "Who is Sarah?" He closed his eyes. He put his head in his hands. The silence in the room was heavy. I could hear my own heart beating. "Clara, I can explain," he finally said. He looked up at me. His eyes were full of guilt. "Explain what?" I asked. "Explain the lies. Explain the other woman. Explain how you broke my heart while I was at home waiting for you." "It's not what you think," he said. "It is a classic line, isn't it? Men always say that." "Then what is it?" I said, my voice rising. "Tell me, Mark, what is it?" "She's just a friend from work," he said. "A friend?" I laughed. It was a sad, bitter laugh. You don't take a friend to a hotel room. You don't tell a friend that you love her. I saw the messages, Mark. I saw everything. He looked defeated. The lies were gone. Only the ugly truth was left. "I'm so sorry, Clara," he whispered. "I never wanted to hurt you. You never wanted to hurt me." I stood up. I was shaking with anger and pain. "You have been lying to me for months. You have been seeing another woman. You broke our vows. You broke my trust. And you never wanted to hurt me. You are a coward, Mark, and a liar." He just sat there. He did not defend himself. He knew I was right. "Why?" I asked. My anger was gone, replaced by a deep sadness. "Why did you do it? Was I not enough? Was our life not good enough for you?" He looked at me. For the first time, I saw tears in his eyes. "It wasn't about you, Clara. You are perfect. Our life was perfect. Maybe it was too perfect." "What does that mean?" I asked. I did not understand. "I don't know," he said, his voice breaking. I felt bored, stuck. Everything was the same every day. Sarah, she was exciting. She was new. It was a mistake. A terrible mistake. It meant nothing. It meant nothing. I could not believe what I was hearing. "You told her you loved her. That means nothing." He did not answer. "I want you to leave," I said. The words came out of my mouth before I even thought about them. But I knew they were right. I could not look at him. I could not be in the same house with him. "Clara, please," he begged. Don't do this. We can fix this. I will end it with her. Today, I promise, I love you. I only love you. Love, I said. You don't know what love is. Love is not lies. Love is not secrets. Love is trust. And you destroyed it. Please, Mark, just go. He stood up slowly. He looked at me one last time. His face was full of pain and regret. He walked to the door. He picked up his coat. And then he was gone. The sound of the door closing was the loudest sound I had ever heard. I stood alone in our kitchen, our home. Now it was just a house full of memories that were now lies. I sank to the floor and I cried. I cried until I had no tears left. The days after Mark left were a blur. The house was so quiet, too quiet. Every corner reminded me of him. The chair he always sat in, the coffee mug with his initial on it, his smell on the pillows. I put all his things in boxes and stored them in the spare room. I could not bear to see them. I felt empty. I could not eat. I could not sleep. I would just sit and stare at the walls. I felt like a ghost in my own life. My friends called me. My mother called me. I did not want to talk to anyone. I was ashamed. I felt like a failure. My marriage had failed. Mark sent me messages every day, long messages. He told me he was sorry. He told me he had made the biggest mistake of his life. He said he had ended things with Sarah. He said he would do anything to get me back. I read the messages, but I did not reply. The words were just words. They could not heal the deep wound in my heart. 1 week after he left, I found the courage to call my best friend, Emily. I told her everything. I cried on the phone for an hour. Emily listened patiently. She did not judge me. She did not tell me what to do. She just listened. I'm coming over, she said when I finished. She came with a container of ice cream and 2 spoons. We sat on my sofa and ate the ice cream right from the container. It was the first thing I had eaten in days. He's an idiot, Clara, she said softly. A complete idiot. But the question is, what do you want to do now? I don't know, I whispered. I still love him. That's the crazy part. I hate him for what he did, but I still love the man I married. I miss him. It's okay to feel that way, Emily said. Love doesn't just turn off like a light switch. But love is not enough to build a marriage on. You need trust. You need respect. She was right. I knew she was right. But my heart was at war with my head. My head told me to leave him, to start a new life. A life without lies. My heart remembered the good times, our wedding day, our first trip together, the way he used to make me laugh. What if he has really changed? I asked. What if he is truly sorry? Maybe he is, Emily said. But that's a big maybe. And even if he is sorry, can you ever trust him again? Every time he works late, will you be wondering if he is really at the office? Can you live like that? I did not have an answer. The next few weeks were the hardest of my life. I tried to go back to my routine. I went to work. I tried to focus. but my mind was always somewhere else. I felt a constant sadness, like a heavy cloud over my head. Mark did not give up. He called me. He left voicemails. He sent flowers to my office. He wrote me a long letter. In the letter, he told me everything. He told me how he met Sarah, how it started with innocent lunches, how it grew into something more. He did not make excuses. He took full responsibility for his actions. He said he was going to therapy to understand why he did it. I know I don't deserve a second chance, he wrote at the end of the letter. But I will spend the rest of my life earning back your trust, if you let me. I read the letter many times. A small part of me wanted to believe him. A small part of me felt a flicker of hope. But the fear was stronger. The fear of being hurt again. One Saturday, I was at the supermarket. I was standing in the cereal aisle, trying to decide what to buy. I felt lost, even doing simple things. Then I heard a voice. Clara. I turned around. It was Mark. He was standing a few feet away. He looked thinner. His eyes were sad. He was holding a basket with only a carton of milk and a loaf of bread in it. My heart jumped. I did not know what to say. Hi, I said finally. How are you? He asked. I'm okay, I lied. We stood there in silence for a moment. It was so awkward. We were husband and wife, but we felt like strangers. I miss you, he said, his voice soft. The house is so empty without you. He was staying at a small apartment his company owned. I miss you too, I admitted. The words just came out. He took a step closer. Can we talk, Clara? Please, not about us. Just talk, like we used to. I hesitated, but I saw the desperation in his eyes, and I realized that I wanted to talk to him too. Okay, I said. We went to a small coffee shop near the supermarket. We sat at a table by the window. It felt strange to be with him. I kept looking at his hands. His wedding ring was still on his finger. I had taken mine off the day he left. We talked for over an hour. We did not talk about Sarah. We did not talk about the affair. We talked about his work. I told him about a funny thing that happened at my job. It felt normal. It felt like before. For a little while, I forgot about the pain. When we were about to leave, he looked at me. I am going to therapy, Clara. I am trying to fix myself. I know I broke something precious, and maybe it can never be fixed, but I have to try, for me and for you. I looked into his eyes. I saw sincerity. I saw pain. I saw a man who was truly lost and trying to find his way back. I went home with a confused heart. Talking to him made me realize how much I missed our connection. We were not just husband and wife. We were friends, best friends. And he had broken that friendship too. I decided to give it time. I told him I needed space, but that I was willing to talk to him sometimes. We started meeting for coffee once a week. We talked on the phone. It was slow. It was difficult. There were days when the anger and sadness came back. There were days I wanted to scream at him all over again. But there were also good days. Days when we laughed together. Days when I remembered why I fell in love with him in the first place. He never pushed me. He was patient. He gave me space when I needed it. He showed me with his actions that he was changing. He was open and honest about his therapy sessions. He told me about his fears and his insecurities. He was showing me the parts of himself that he had kept hidden before. 3 months later, he asked me a question that I was dreading and hoping for at the same time. Clara, would you consider going to marriage counseling with me? I thought about it for a long time. Was I ready? Could our marriage be saved? Or was it just a beautiful memory that I needed to let go of? It's okay to feel scared when you have to make a big decision. Your heart and your head might tell you different things. It is important to listen to both. I decided to say yes. I knew it would not be easy. I knew it would be painful. But I also knew that I had to try. For myself. I needed to know if we could find our way back to each other, or if it was time to say goodbye forever. Our first counseling session was hard. We sat on a sofa, and a kind woman named Dr. Evans sat opposite us. She asked us to tell our story. When I talked about finding the receipt, the old pain came back. I started to cry. Mark reached out to hold my hand, but I pulled away. It was too soon. Dr. Evans was very wise. She said, "Trust is like a mirror. You can fix it if it's broken, but you can still see the cracks in the reflection." She said our goal was not to go back to the way things were. That was impossible. Our goal was to build something new, something stronger, something built on the hard truth, not on a perfect illusion. We went to counseling every week for 6 months. We learned how to talk to each other again, really talk. We learned to listen. I learned about his fears of failure and his feeling of being trapped in a routine. He learned about the deep pain and insecurity his actions caused me. It was not an excuse for what he did, but it was an explanation. Slowly, very slowly, things began to heal. The anger started to fade. It was replaced by a quiet understanding. I started to see him not as a monster who betrayed me, but as a flawed human being who made a terrible mistake. And I had to look at myself too. Had I been so caught up in our comfortable life that I stopped seeing him, stopped listening to his silent struggles? The fault for the affair was his, and only his. But a marriage is a partnership, and we had both stopped working on it. One evening, after a counseling session, Mark asked me, "Can I come home, Clara?" I looked at him. The fear was still there. A small voice in my head whispered, "What if he does it again?" But then I looked at the man in front of me. He was not the same man who left my house 6 months ago. He was more humble, more honest, more real. And I was not the same woman either. I was stronger. I had survived the worst pain of my life. I knew now that I could live without him, and that knowledge gave me the freedom to choose to live with him. "Yes," I said, "you can come home." It was not a fairy tale ending. The cracks in the mirror were still there. Sometimes, I still felt a pang of fear when he worked late. But now, he would call me and tell me exactly where he was and who he was with. He would send me pictures from his office. He was working hard to rebuild the trust he had shattered. Our life is not perfect now. It is messy and complicated sometimes, but it is real. The husband's secret almost destroyed us, but in a strange way, it also saved us. It forced us to tear down the perfect house we were living in and build a new home. A home with stronger foundations. A home built not on secrets, but on the difficult, beautiful, and honest truth. Sometimes in life, the worst things that happen to you can lead to the best kind of growth. It is a hard path, but it can make you stronger. You can heal. You can learn to trust again. You just have to be brave enough to take the first step. You can do this too. Keep going.